Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Automated Seller Podcast. Today I have a new guest, Chad Rubin. He is the CEO and founder of two companies at the moment, but he also did a couple of exits previously. So I'm really honored that you are here, Chad. And first of all, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive in.
Awesome. So, just from the beginning, Chad, right now at the moment, you are actually running two companies, Deep and Sassy and Profasee, right?
Yeah, Prophecy is my full-time gig. Deep and Sassy is more my passion project.
Mm-hmm.
So Deep and Sassy is a mastermind for software entrepreneurs. A lot of them are in the Amazon ecosystem. And then Prophecy is a AI software specifically to dynamically change price for private label brands to maximize profit without sacrificing their share on Amazon.
Awesome. And we'll deep dive a little bit later into those two. But before
Yeah.
that, I would love to hear a little bit more about your story. So, first of all, I know that you had a couple of other companies. So, I actually went through your LinkedIn and checked that you had Scubana that got acquired, Prosper Show that got acquired, which is, I think, the best Amazon conference that exists. That was actually my first conference that I went to. So that's how actually whole Amazon journey with Delta Logic started. So it's really great. And then Seller's Choice. So that's really impressive. And we will also jump to those three. But beforehand, I want to ask you first about the beginnings of your e-commerce journey and basically how did you start with entrepreneurship? Like, was it always that you wanted to create something from scratch or you kind of had to? So I'm really curious to hear those.
Yeah, so just I come from a family that really had nothing growing up, and we were scraping to get by, finding pennies in the couch cushions, couldn't pay our rent in some months. So my father owned a vacuum cleaner store, and it was the absolute last thing I ever wanted to do was to be an entrepreneur and even to get into the vacuum business. I went onto Wall Street. I was a first generation college graduate to get onto Wall Street, and I was miserable. My dad owned a vacuum store, and I started helping him on the side. And then Amazon just launched their marketplace. And I was like, oh, you guys should start selling on Amazon. So we started selling on Amazon. I started helping him, and then the business just took off. So
What
that's
year
really
was
how
it?
I got.
Sorry. What year
Let's
was it?
see. So I got started selling Amazon with my dad 2007, 2006
Mm-hmm.
timeframe. It was a long time ago. And but even if you actually rewind my character itself, I started selling things in high school and in middle school. Like I was selling warheads, then I went into fireworks, then I started selling Japanese import games that with mod
Mm-hmm.
chips installed in
Oh
PlayStation. So
wow.
I've always been uh, really a self-starter in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so that's how I got started though in the Amazon world was with this vacuum business, and I started a private label vacuum cleaner accessory business called Think Crucial, which actually is still around today. So we manufacture
Oh
home
wow.
appliance parts, vacuum filters, coffee filters, air filters, anything you can think of that's crucial in the home, we manufacture. That's how I got
Mm-hmm.
started, and that incubated the rest of my journey in the Amazon space, taking us to 2023.
Got it. So this kind of actually sounds like a little bit of the history of Gary Vaynerchuk. I think that was similar case, right? So his dad had a wine store, and then he actually jumped there and starts helping him, and eventually they scale like crazy. And it seems like very similar story. I mean, at this point, if this business is still running, that's great, right? Because it's almost 20 years, right? If you think about it. So
It's 20. It is 20 years. It's been a really long time. Uh,
that's
and
great.
and then serendipitously, as I was scaling the private label filter business, accessory business, Think Crucial, my account manager was a guy named James Thompson, and I was starting a software called Stubana at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking for investors, and I got him to invest in Stubana. Again, he was my account manager at Amazon. He had left Amazon when I called him up to finance us and to help invest. And then he was like, hey, I'm going to start this conference. Do you want to participate and be part of it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So we actually kind of grew up together
Mm-hmm.
as Amazon was maturing. in this process. And, I think there was no community back then. So we were solving a really big problem. There was no multi-channel inventory management software that can run at scale and that was purpose built all in one place with one source of truth. It didn't exist. And so we just got in at a very lucky time, identified an opportunity, and then I guess carried on with
you
it.
built the Skubana. That's awesome. I can't even think about how was the world of the Amazon API back then. I mean, I jumped into it, I think around 2 or 3 years ago when there was no ASP API. There was actually the old MWS API, and that was terrible. I remember there was literally no resources out there to build anything. I mean, now they migrated to the newest API. It's still bad. It's still there are not so many of the good resources. I know that the community is growing. They are actually doing some conferences for ASP API developers, but I can't even think about how hard was it for you to start it. I mean, you are not technical, right? You said that, or what did you study actually?
I studied finance in college.
Finance.
I
So
was a
you had
finance
not really
major.
any idea about building a software company, right?
No, but I experienced the problem firsthand. I think that's what makes the best software is those that live the problem.
Totally, I can only agree, right? That's actually what differentiate us, and that was super hard for us to get to the Amazon world because our background is all tech and coding, but we still wanted to really pick the niche. So we and until they now, I mean, as long as basically right now, as we have more than 100 clients around Amazon right now, we are quite familiar with the platform. But initially, it was just terrible. When someone was saying FBA, FBM, all of the fees, we had no idea basically what our clients are talking about. But now it changed. So here I can only agree that basically because you solved your own problem and you could build a great software. So that's
Totally.
awesome. So
And I
that was
think
the
in
Skubana.
general, right, that in general, all of entrepreneurship and all of, I think, people's careers, people need to really learn to love solving problems and learn to love
I
problems.
agree. Totally. I agree. So that was Skubana. I know that you did exit on that. And how about the Prosper Show? Because this is something that I'm really curious about, especially because this was essentially the conference that got us into where we are right now.
Amazing. Yeah. What questions do you have?
So how did you start Prosper Show, basically?
Well, so as I was scaling Skubana, I told you James Thompson, he was my old account manager. He invested in our company. He called me and was like, "Hey, I'm starting this thing. Do you want to participate in it?" I said, "Absolutely. I'd love to build community." Obviously, I spoke at the conference. I drove sellers and brands to the conference. And yeah, we created, I think, a great community. I think a great show and provided a lot of value. And I think once you provide a lot of value in life as a business, you help other people flourish, you're rewarded for that eventually. And our reward was with the exit of both Stubana and Prosper Show.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. But when it comes to building community, because I would need to rewind also a little bit. What year was that you started Prosper Show?
Our first show, Prosper, I think was I want to say it was 2015.
Mm-hmm. So that was the time when Facebook had its peak, I believe. I mean, Facebook was quite popular, but how did you actually build the community? Was it through the social media or because of the people you knew already in the industry? I really wonder what does it take to build
Yeah.
such a conference and community?
I think it was a combination of providing a lot of value. I think there was no other, like right now, everyone and their mother can start a conference. If you look at what's
Mm-hmm.
happened in the Amazon space, we're saturated with conferences on a monthly basis, if not weekly basis at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were the first to do it. Nobody was doing it. People were seeking it. People were thirsty for knowledge and for community. And we were able to put it all together. So community, I think the word community has evolved in a way, right? Especially in Amazon, because like now there's many different places to seek shelter and seek community. But went back in 2015, if you think about it, there was no place that was providing that to activate Amazon sellers' potential.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. That's actually a huge benefit on being somewhere early, right? But on the other hand, that's also taking a lot of risk because no one really did it before. So
Totally. I mean, a lot of risk taking has been involved in my career.
I can only see that. So that's awesome. So I actually have one personal question to you, Chad, before we jump to um, Profis and the deep and sassy. Because I mean, it seems like you achieved already a lot with building such a businesses, getting acquired. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs, and some of them they are running very successful businesses, and they just say one thing: once I'm about to exit, that's it, that's over. I'll go and retire. And it seems like you already did a couple of exits, but you're still in the game. So, what's your fuel?
Yeah, I would say like Cubano was the was a big boy exit, right? It was a pretty big exit for me and for my family and for our investors and friends that came in and joined us on the journey. After the exit, it's interesting what happens to somebody after an exit, right? So the people that you've been building with for such a long time at high intensity are now reporting to somebody else in the organization, typically. And over time, you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? What am I doing? And it causes a lot of self-reflection because overnight you're left with a lot more money in your bank account, but nothing really else in your life has changed. And then the closest people to you that you're building the company with, over time, those relationships start to evolve because now they're reporting to a new CEO or a new management team. So during that time period, I had a lot of reflection. So I'm giving you a kind of a longer answer to your question about like what's my inspiration. But I had a lot of downtime. I did a lot of self-reflection, and I actually hired a lot of coaches to become a better person myself. Because I said I can either just dive right back into something, because I do think that for me, business creates a lot of purpose for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to like kind of hold on to that impatience for a little bit more, become a better version of myself. And then I got impatient enough where I was like, okay, here's a problem that needed to be solved. And that problem was pricing. So inspiration for me is I love to solve problems. I love to build stuff. Taking a different approach with this business. I'm challenging myself in a lot of different ways. And I really like solving those challenges. It's like, it really lights me up to do that.
That's awesome. That's actually awesome. That it drives you, right. It's your purpose in your life to actually create something valuable. Because I know one, like I have also one history. So basically, this is history from my friend about one German CEO. So and the founder, he built like very big agency, very successfully, and then after I think 15 years, he did exit,
Mm-hmm.
multiple million of euros, and then afterwards he started like he said, okay, now I go and I retire. So first thing he did, he went to the store, he bought the newest, I think back then that was PS4 and 20 games, and he said, now I have time for my boys, let's play the games whole day. They open only one game and play it a couple of hours, that's it. Then his wife, she actually wanted to start meeting with more how to say, like different friends, make different friends who also have more money. So they started to going on like very fancy restaurants. He started to cheating on his wife. Eventually his marriage collapsed. He started taking drugs, partying more. Eventually he lost almost all of his money. And what he did, he started creating the exactly same company as he sold, because he had all of the experience, and now he's again at the same point. But that's the thing, right? So you always need to find a purpose, and there are crazy stories about those things. So I was really curious to hear how was it for you, especially that you said that was actually quite a nice money, right? So the thing that you hired the coaches and took some time off, that's actually great, right? But eventually you came back to what was your purpose before. So here you
Yeah.
are right now running two more companies.
And I still, by the way, still have my e-commerce business. So that's part of the mix. It's not like it's gone
Oh
away.
yeah.
And how I started Profasee was that in my free time after the sale, I was working on my e-commerce business, and
Mm-hmm.
actually got a lot harder. Amazon has gotten a lot mature and a lot harder for brands. And this business, which was once a cash cow, was now losing anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another problem that needed to be solved. And I love problems. So I started to restructure the business. And one of the problems I came across was around pricing. And that's really what took me on this journey. I didn't really intend to just start something right away, but I was like, wait a minute, why is nobody changing price on Amazon? Why is pricing static? Why is everyone changing their advertising spend?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever leave $10,000 of ad spend unoptimized? No. So then why would you leave your pricing unoptimized? It didn't make sense. It didn't add up. And the more I got my fingers dirty with the subject matter of pricing, the more I was like, wow, this is a massive opportunity. And I started to actually test this on my own business, and it started to work. And then a business was born.
So that was quite a similar, let's say, a journey as in the beginning with your first company, right? Like you saw that there's a problem that needs to be solved. You actually solve it for yourself as you were selling on Amazon,
Yep,
and that's how the company was born eventually, right? So that's awesome.
completely.
But actually, that was 2021, right? So I believe that there were already some other reprices. So if you could say what was actually super innovative about your repricing strategy compared to other reprices.
Yeah, so by the way, I launched in 2021 Profasee. I sold Cubana in April of 21. So I had pretty much, 8 months of no new business activity. And so I tried, by the way, I did a lot of research, I did a lot of analysis. So Amazon as a marketplace has evolved and changed over time. And one of the, say, newer evolutions, probably from 2016 onwards, is this revolution around private label. Private label, which means is that you live and die by the search engine ranking page. You don't compete for a buy box. You own the brand and you're going direct to consumer. And so there's a lot of these old school repricers out there that compete to win the buy box, right?
Yeah.
So typically it's like the lowest price wins. If you're FBA and you're the lowest price, you'll definitely have an advantage. Great. But what if you're private label, which is 70% of Amazon today? If you're a private label brand, how do you know that you're pricing optimally? How do you know that you're not leaving money on the table? And why are you actually chronically, statically pricing your product? So there wasn't any answers to this, and there's certainly no software out there that actually did this because actually it's quite difficult to do. So I set out to actually build a private label repricer for Amazon brands, and with the sole intention to maximize profit without sacrificing your BSR, your bestseller rank on Amazon. And I was initially doing this in a spreadsheet. So I built like a framework to make changes to my pricing because there's so many signals on Amazon, whether it's seasonality, it's your BSR, your inventory position, it could be your conversion rate, your session rate, your competitor's BSR. When you make a price change, it's not just how your customers react, it's how your competitors react and how Amazon.com reacts. Because if you change your price today, it could affect your orders tomorrow. So all of these things were confounding variables that made it even incrementally more difficult to manage. And I was like, okay, this is a really hard problem, and this is a fun problem, and actually can help a lot of sellers minimize the value leakage that's happening on the marketplace.
Totally. I think you're I've never seen such a repricer before. So eventually, as you mentioned, repricers, they were based, I mean, more or less, they were definitely more intelligent than only trying to get the lowest price at the moment, right? I know some repricers that are analyzing the competitors. Sometimes they are making competitors, like they are actually putting price higher, so the competitor items are being sold quick, and then they are getting the price back, so they can actually sell their inventory. So they are quite some
Sure.
like smart repricers out there, but I've never seen actually a repricer that analyzes the prices across different listings, so you actually are profitable and winning with other brands.
Totally. We live and die by, again, the search engine ranking page on Amazon. So if you're selling generic Bluetooth headphones and you're at $9.95, your competition's at $8.95, you have other people that are $12.95 and $15, how do you know that you're not leaving money on the table? And it's not so simple as just raising price, because if you raise price, it could affect demand. It could affect your velocity. It could actually affect your ranking position. Sometimes the optimal decision is actually to lower price. And you lower price, you increase your velocity, your demand, and the velocity offsets the decrease in demand and creates more absolute profit dollars in your pocket. And you start to you start to own and rank organically on page one versus paying advertising spend to rank there.
Oh,
So it's a
yes.
very complex challenge, and it was just by chance, actually, like I think you mentioned earlier, kind of like being at the right place, that when I left Stubana and sold that company, I started to really get interested in AI. Now, AI and ChatGPT came out really November of 2022. That's when that's really when it became mainstream, let's just say. I started loving AI in 21, early 2021, and that was a core piece of my thesis, that there's so many signals happening on Amazon. There's so much data points
Oh,
on
yeah.
Amazon to pull in that no human can actually analyze all those data points. You needed really AI to do it. And so we started building this repricer that's at the intersection of profit, because a lot of Amazon brands are suffering right now, and AI, and we're at the intersection of that.
That's awesome. And actually, I checked some of your case studies, and they're also very impressive. So, could you actually share some of those brands that used your repricer and significantly increased their profits?
Yeah. So let's see where to begin. So on average, we see a lift of 10 to 15% of profit impact by using Profasee for our brands. So if you are a brand that's struggling that wants to make 10 to 15% more in profits, you check out Profasee. So we only manage, our KPI is how much dollars did we generate to you that you wouldn't have had earlier before, and then what is that percentage as a profit lift impact? And if you annualize that, what does that become in terms of incremental profit? So right now, I think we have maybe 5 case studies on our site. We have a lot more coming. I'm actually building a landing page to host all the case studies because there's so many. But we're category agnostic, so you have to be a private label brand. You don't compete for the buy box. You own the buy box all the time.
Yeah.
And we change, essentially how our system works is firstly, we only maximize profit. Secondly, we supervise the results. So when a customer comes onto the platform, they give us their min price, their max price, and their landed cost. We pull in all the fees from Amazon, and we do all the rest of the work. And that's how we begin. And so what happens is that someone comes onto the platform. Most Amazon brands never make price changes. So we have a hyper learning phase where we make small changes to price to see how your customers react, to see how Amazon.com reacts, and to see how your competition reacts. And we then take those learnings and we deploy them to the market. And while that's happening, our models are improving and continuously learning. They're compounding, and they're getting better to make sure that they're making the right decisions to make you mountains of money on your ASIN.
That's a very smart approach, definitely. And did you create your own models? I believe yes, right? I mean, you have
Yeah.
some data scientists working
Mm-hmm.
on
So
your
we have
team.
actually 2 parallel machine learning models. We have one that predicts demand and elasticity, and then we have one that predicts price at a specific demand. So we have 2 different models that are working together. And then we've started to work on adding spend behavior into what we've been building, because price dictates spend. And at different price levels, you actually have more budget where you can put gas on the fire and you can actually generate more profit dollars with your spend. So that's something that we're currently working on with a couple of clients, but over time, we're going to be bringing that to market as well. So decisions
That's
around, if we know where price is going, we can predict the best price for you in the coming week. We know that a week in advance where the model is going with price. We can actually predict the optimal spend at that price to maximize profit dollars in your business.
it's very, very smart. And also, it's very interesting how Amazon really evolved since the beginning. I mean, I know that back in the days that there was really nothing like that, right? Like all you had to do is really put the listing on Amazon and it was just selling. There were no really
Yep.
competitors, nothing. And now there's so much data, such a powerful software that it's impressive and scary at the same time, because eventually, in my opinion, like it will be AI fighting against AI to win, right? I mean, if someone else will be using the same software as you do, but running different brand, what will happen actually?
So a couple things, right? Like the reason why I really believe in AI specifically on Amazon, my thesis is that Amazon is no different from Wall Street. In the early 2000s, Wall Street, 10% of the volume on Wall Street was automated bots. Now it's over 80%. We're talking in the financial markets for trading.
Yeah.
If you look at the financial markets as a commodity of baskets of goods, it's no different from Amazon.com. They're all commodities. Amazon's playing in the commodity world and has actually slowly been detaching brands from the actual use of them. And people are now searching general products versus brands on Amazon more than ever. So if you believe in the thesis that Amazon.com is a commodity platform and bots will take over, I think we're properly positioned. So I do believe that brands on Amazon are going to become algorithmic brands. They're going to be forced to, and then the best algorithm wins. Because algorithms can make mistakes at a far quicker clip, but learn from those mistakes. Like they're faster, they're cheaper, and when things work really well, they make far less mistakes than a human being does. And they self-improve over time. And so with pricing, sure, whoever has the best model is going to win on Amazon, regardless, whether it's pricing, whether it's advertising, whether it's inventory management, or listing optimization. Those are the 4 key categories, in my opinion, that are destined to be taken over by algorithms, and the brands that will win will be the ones that are embracing AI and algorithms and have the best moat around the algorithms that they built.
That's true. I mean, I only agree. And in order to do that, you need more and more data as well to actually create this kind of software. So,
but there's no
that's
shortage
really
of data, right, Jacob? There's no shortage of data on Amazon. I mean, I think I just wrote on LinkedIn about this, that Amazon brands are actually inundated with data. They have so much data, they don't even know what to do with it. But
that's true. And
I was just going to say, but who knows what to do with that data? It's AI. They can decipher and find the right signals around the noise to do that.
Yeah, I can only agree. And it's very interesting, basically, what you are saying, because this is like one case scenario when you are really aware of what will happen and you are leveraging the technology to win. But then I will give you another example of some clients that are coming to us. They are running 7-8 figures brands, and they are using just Google Sheets to manage their business. That's it. No AI, no technology, no software, just Google Sheets. So eventually, yeah, that's very interesting to see, like those two, let's say,
but like
scenarios.
I think the thing that's interesting about Google Sheets is like what got you from A to B may not get you from B to C. And if you're running your business on Google Sheets, you can't adapt as quickly. Like I'm thinking about in my mind how much money they're leaving on the table by using Sheets. Sure, Sheets as a dashboard, okay, but then you need to execute on that data. And by the time you actually have someone compile that data, it becomes expired. So I think to me that and that's probably why they're coming to you, is that there's a massive opportunity to monetize that data, and they're leaving money on the table by using these spreadsheets with expired data.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I agree. But yeah, we talked about basically your SaaS product at the moment, but as we initially said, you also have created a deep and SaaS company, right? And what I understood, this is the community around SaaS creators, or if you could basically share what exactly is that would be.
First of all, it's a labor of love. It's actually more of a passion project than it is a business. Building a software is a very, very hard challenge. And a lot of times there's a lot of recurring challenges that we're all experiencing or have experienced. And so to me, there's an opportunity to collaborate and activate each other's potential as human beings and as business owners. So I started. I'd had this idea while I was taking my, I don't know, I guess you want to call it my 8-month sabbatical after Subana. The idea was, okay, like, why don't I start hosting events and virtual community events where we bring in people to speak and share what's working for them so we can all learn from that and iterate on it and improve our own businesses and our own lives. And that's what we're doing. So every month we meet. The goal is to one day have also an in-person event, but right now we're all meeting virtually. It's a lot of SaaS. A lot of them, sometimes agencies, because some agencies are SaaS enabled, and a lot of the people that are in it, not all, but most of them are in the Amazon space.
Awesome. And how to become the member?
You just go to Deep and Sassy and you can apply. There's a pretty long questionnaire that'll ask you to fill out to make sure, hey, we want to make sure people are keeping it confidential, make sure there's no conflicts of interest for other members in the group, because we want everyone to bring their most authentic self and really overshare in the community.
Awesome. And of course, you have already experience building the community, so I can only see that it's definitely really valuable to every member that is already there.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love, super fun. Yeah, I'm recording all the meetings so that we can use them again. But it's almost like taking a course in school, but with real professionals, where it's their arena of experience and expertise, and sharing that really openly, everything under the hood.
Awesome. I will definitely ask you some more questions after the episode, as I'm very interested. But yes, that was still really, really great. I mean, every insight that you brought here today was awesome, chat. So thanks a lot for coming and sharing the journey with you, especially the journey. I mean, right now you're sharing all of the success stories here, right? But I know that this journey is extremely tough. I mean, I'm only in the game since 3 years, but I can
Yeah.
only imagine how many of the bad feelings, bad moments you had during this process of running so many companies and doing the exits. So that's really impressive, and thanks
Yeah,
for sharing.
I know we're only sharing the positive, but trust me, it's been a roller coaster, and uh, there's definitely been people that have been unintentionally hurt by me maybe making a mishire, as an example, right? It's a great example. Is like,
Totally.
you make a mishire, and now you made a mistake, and now you need to backtrack that employee. You need to offload them and offboard them, and it's sad. But so yeah, there's been tons of mistakes, no shortage of them. I'm happy to always share those anytime you want.
Totally. I can only agree with that. So, but yes, I would definitely love to do some next episode in the future, when we maybe talk more about the entrepreneurship and actually the journey, the ups and downs, if you are up to that.
Yeah.
Other than that, again, thanks a lot for coming today. And yes, chat, if you could maybe share like where people can find you if they have any questions, or if they want to try the Profis, that would be great.
Yeah. So of course, I'm here in the community to support everybody and to leave it better than how I found it. So you can find a lot of my commentary on Twitter and LinkedIn under Chad Rubin. You can email me if you have a direct question, which is chad@profasee.com. That's Profasee. So profit you could see. It's a play on words, chad@profasee.com. Yeah. And feel free to connect. Again, I'm happy to support
Awesome.
everybody.
Great. Thanks a lot, chat, and we speak soon.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Thank you.